Yes, guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, I have been posting a week in review on my Instagram for the last couple of weeks, and I think that this is something that I want to start uploading on my YouTube channel. So, what I'm going to run through is instead of having the training review, this is going to be basically stats, check-in forms, pictures, any other notes that I might put in, and just give you a rundown and a look back for me for when in, I don't know, 10 years time, I can look back and go, hey, look, this is what I was doing. And how the process has changed, because it's something that I've definitely been interested in, and how my process has changed over the 12 years that I have been bodybuilding or just even in the gym. So let's go through my check-in form. So as you can see, I'm coached by Good Style Coaching, which is Nathan Stiles and Phoebe Goodwin's coaching business. Fantastic. Been working with them since 2020, and it's currently 2026. You can see the start date is 2025, but that's when they upgraded their sheets. So currently in week 70 of these sheets, but I am in week 18 of this current 2026 year. So what we're going to do is, firstly, you can see that I'm going to go away on holiday on the 14th of May. It's currently the 4th, so 10 days' time I'm actually going away on holiday. So we're recomping at the moment. What this basically means is a diet without any real end goal, just to get sensitivity there. So the idea is that body weight is trending down, but still not just trying to get me in stage condition intentionally. So if we look at the timeline is kind of like the hub of where things are. So in week 17, I was 215.8 pounds on average and 214.1 pounds on average in week 18. So that's a 1.7 pound drop. Very, very happy with that. I had a deload here in week 17, and this was the first week back training in week 18. So you can see here that food has stayed exactly the same. I don't need much food myself to actually grow. Or even just in general, like the most I believe my calories got up to this off season was 4,125 on a train day and 3,500 on a rest day. So I'm very fortunate in that way. I know lots of people struggle with large volumes of food in the off season. That isn't me. I also have quite a large appetite. So you can see output's quite low, 8,000 steps, 200 calories of cardio a day. The reason for the calories versus a time amount is I have this tendency to overdo things. So if you give me 20 minutes, I'll try and burn as many calories as I can in those 20 minutes, because that's the way my brain ticks. I'm a little bit of an all or nothing guy. If I'm going to do something, I do it properly. So to try and rate limit that, and kind of more isn't better, we do 200 calories and then just as long as it takes. Currently, it's taking me about 15, maybe 17 minutes at the moment. So nothing crazy. As I say, like it's just baseline. Cycle-wise, I'm on 600 milligrams of test, 300 milligrams of EQ, 300 milligrams of mast propionate. Looking back on this, the reason why the mast prop is in there, because it's currently what I'm able to source, simply down to what's going on in China at the moment, and there's a few issues with supply. I've managed to get myself on some Mast E for this week, which I'll go through in next week's review. So to everyone, this might seem like quite a lot, and it is. You know, I'm being real and honest. My body really metabolizes drugs well. If you look at any of my blood work, which has been posted on my Instagram, it never looks bad. It always looks really, really good. So that tells me that I metabolize it well, but also I need to take more than everyone else in order to get the same results. Like this might give me the same results as someone that takes half of it. So there's pros and cons. Again, I'm just being transparent. I believe that it's because when I had my first test levels done as a 27-year-old, I'm 31 now, this is when I was still natural, they were still actually technically out of range. So they were super physiological. I think it was 28 point something nmol. I can have a look back at some point and look. And for British numbers, at the time it ran up to 26. So, and that was with some heavy depression and quite a lot of things that would suppress testosterone production. So I believe that's just when my body just runs. I take 500 milligrams of L-carnitine pre-cardio. This is injectable form. Great for lipolysis and just overall health. There's been some fertility stuff in it as well, which is pretty good. I take 4 IUs of growth hormone, split AM and PM. The reason why it's split is purely because I can't handle 5. We can see here that we tried 5 and it didn't really work. I think this stuff is particularly powerful and I respond very, very well to it. Clenbuterol in at 40 micrograms, not milligrams, and a replacement dose of T4, which then we've just added in another bit of T3 after reviewing some blood work. This isn't to boost fat loss. This is purely because my thyroid is always typically on the lower end. It's in range, so if I went to the NHS or the doctors, they would just turn around and be like, you're still there. But for what we want to do, we want to optimize, not just be okay with generic Joe Blow. So there's that. We've got some peptides in here as well. GHKCU, I have some excess skin on my glutes, which you'll see in a second. Methylene Blue pre-workout, which I love for as like a focus matrix. SS31, which is a mitochondrial repair tool. SLU PP332, which is an exercise mimetic. I really, really like this. I use this in my last prep, and it meant that my output actually stayed quite low. My first prep, I was up at 15,000 steps a day, 2 sessions on the stair mill every day, one being 45 minutes, and it just took its toll on the body. And Motzi, this is the first time I've been running this in a diet phase, and I'm really liking it. My cognitive function has been fantastic. Mood is great, and cardio is relatively easy. Things just feel easy, so that's meaning that I don't feel like I need to cheat. So if we go over to my tracker, this is kind of what I fill out every day. I also have a similar thing for my own clients, so you can see that I kind of practice what I preach. We had a low weight of 212.4, which actually I weighed in at again this morning, which is quite nice. Usually my lowest days are Mondays because I usually manage to get an early night on a Sunday. So you can see here that as time goes on throughout the week, it kind of creeps up. Did it do the same here? No, but you can see it took a massive drop on Sunday just because of I can get an early night on a Sunday night ready for work. I do a 9 to 5 as well as this coaching lark. Performance was great. You can see steps were exceeded. I track this because it's important. It's a number of stools. I think for someone that's consuming a lot of protein and just a lot of food in general, to see consistency like this can be very valuable for a coach. I won't go through it this much in depth each week, but as we're introducing it, I wanted to kind of just go through what I'm thinking. Digestion's always good. Sleep was great apart from Friday. I don't know what possessed me to do this, but decided to take a caffeinated pre-workout, and now I train at 6 p.m. And this one had DMMA or DMAA in it or whatever, and I usually never use a stim, but I just fancied it. I don't know whether I was just tired. I think I had low energy, so I was like, let's try this out, crank this out, and I had a really fun session, but God, did it knock onto my sleep. And then it was Thursday night that I did that. So, and then I check in on a Friday, and for whatever reason, I don't know what possessed me to do that. But you learn your hard lessons. I didn't take my blood pressure last week, which is a not particularly regular thing for me. I have been super focused on producing content and things like that. So maybe I was getting up and going, okay, let's do this content, let's do that, let's try and get this ready and that. So, but I did it on Sunday anyway, and it was relatively okay. I would prefer it be down here. I mean, that was particularly low. So maybe it's because I've been excited, added in the T3. That does give you a lot of energy, and it might be something on from that realm. So from my check-in side of things, again, it wasn't particularly detailed. Sleep was down on average from last week, from the week before, sorry. Deep sleep remained the same, but everything else had dropped. REM had kind of stayed in a similar range. This probably isn't necessary for everyone to track, but I want to see these markers and just look back and go, right, where can I make this better? I have a glute issue that I've been dealing with for the last year and a half, maybe. So I've tried chiro, I've tried deep tissue. I get deep tissue twice a month anyway. I've tried mobility work, and now we're on to let's see if it's the nerve, and it seems to be doing something. There's a thing called a clineal nerve, which basically attaches over the upper glute, like the shelf, and that's where I'm feeling the discomfort. The guy, funnily enough, said that it could be starting from the calf and how tight my chest and back is. Like, just I'm quite. You can see it here that I'm quite rounded over. So potentially that's that. I also mentioned to my coach about not taking PEDs away with me when I'm going to Spain. Is this necessary for him to know? Yeah, not really. But if he has the information and does nothing with it, it's better than if he doesn't have the information. So that's kind of my view on how I feel these things out. And again, with training, whenever I take a deload, what I try and do is when I come back is I reset my numbers and go, right, how can I make this harder? You know, adding a really deep stretch in a chest press. Let's add a pause in a squat. I've always been someone that has been able to move a lot of load, but that doesn't necessarily correlate over to actually my muscle growth. It's been said a few times that my muscularity doesn't reflect the numbers that I lift. So probably not the best bodybuilder in that sense, but having that as a tool is very, very useful. Let's crack over and have a look at what the physique is doing. So I'll just change screens just now. So you can see here is the check-in photos that I send across to my coach once a week. So what am I seeing? If we go back to the previous one, just to remind me. So this was the week before. You can see there's quite a bit of, you can see the body's a little bit tired. Well, I can anyway. You can see my face looks a little bit tired, to be honest. But as we come here, it's not as pumped up. You can tell it's off the back end of a week, just coming off of a deload. I'm a little bit flatter, which is fine. You know, is part of it. Things are starting to, I guess, soften. But that's just because the muscles aren't pressing up to the skin as much. Hopefully this will rectify next week. Specifically along the top line, I think I'm a little bit shrugged up here. So, but overall condition is starting to make an appearance of where I'd like it to be. From the front anyway, I'm typically someone that stays quite lean. From the side, you can see it's a little bit softer. I would like to start to see those obliques coming in soon and the glutes start to come in and get this kind of love-handly bit off. But everywhere else I'm kind of happy with, especially considering I'm still around 15-20 pounds up above stage weight. I'm quite happy with how this visual is looking. And here you can see the main kind of culprit is the excess skin on the glutes. It's not significant, but it's enough that when I get super lean, it just doesn't come in. You just see excess skin. There's just no detail there. You can see that there's detail in the hamstring, even in the adductor, but there's just none in the glute. For me, I'm typically a bit wider than this, so you'll see it in the upcoming weeks that this is kind of just a little bit flat. Maybe I'm not opening it up far enough. My head position isn't particularly great. What I kind of cue for me is as I'm up in that position, I'm then pressing my head back as though I'm sitting in a seat. But I don't think I'm doing that here. It's difficult to remember because this is now Monday. I've had a few technical difficulties trying to record this. Side shot, sorry, move that back over there. Side shot, so what we're looking at here again is this side's coming through a little bit better. I don't know whether my posing's slightly different, or maybe it just might be that side is slightly leaner, but the glute this side is less lean. I do struggle to get into this side a little bit better. You can actually see how tight that upper pec is. So yeah, what I'm cueing here is trying to get that shoulder underneath the chin. So yeah, I'm quite shrugged up actually. I definitely need to work on the mobility in that. Front double bicep. This is one of my favorite shots now, especially since I've brought my arms up. I'd like to see the tricep hang a little bit more and get a little bit more peak in the arms, but arms have always been something that I've really, really struggled with growing wise. So I'm happy that that's where they are. I can see progress, but at the same time, still not content. Front lat spread. Again, super tight across the middle. I'd like to see those lats flaring out a little bit more, but at the same time, this is definitely one of my stronger poses. Especially when I'm leaner, you can really see detail coming through each side there and quad coming through. Quite impressed about how the sweep has come out this off season as well. if I can get this kind of just looking less kind of compressed, then it'll be a really nice shot. Side chest I changed up recently, so I'm extending the back leg a little bit more, which allows me to push the glute through more, get the hamstring on, pull a vacuum, which then expands air into the rib cage, enabling my waist to look smaller, my chest to look bigger, and overall kind of even the delt to come through a little bit better. But I've always been lucky with the delt side of things. And you can see here where I'm not hitting a vacuum, I've got a nice set of abs here, and you can see the obliques coming through, but the chest doesn't look as big and round. So it's that trade-off from the side chest to the side tricep. But I'm happy with how the tricep is looking here. You can see the back leg is tall again, and the glute is looking slightly better. From the back here, I should be opening out more. Something that I usually cue again is head back and elbows pushing out towards the walls. Don't think I'm doing that here. But the glute isn't actually looking as saggy as normally. Saggy's a great word for this, isn't it? But as you can see, like, condition's starting to come in, but it's just chipping away at it week on week. And I'm just not opening up here. That's terrible posing. For someone that wants to make posing, teaching a part of my business, got to practice what you preach. But at least I can pick myself apart and know where I'm going wrong. Ab and thigh, this is something that, the reason I hit this off center is because it makes my lats look bigger and my arms look bigger, but I do just struggle getting those abs on. What I have to do when I'm lean is exhale, press out, and actually press out with my TVA to get the abs to show, and then lift through chest. So there's a lot going on all at once, and if I don't hit it right, then it just looks very washed out. I'm very lucky that I do have a good set of abs, but I just got to show them off. And you can see here with a straight on with the ab and thigh with a vacuum pose that actually I lose a lot of lat size and I lose a lot of arm size, but from the sternum down, this is a fantastic shot on me. So it's trading what do you want, you know. This one has more balance, but has less, like this doesn't look as nice. The midsection doesn't look as nice, but as I say, from the sternum up, it looks better. So I need to figure out how to combine the two. Maybe I hit this. I could just hit this off to the side, couldn't I? Maybe we'll try that next week. Most muscular. This looks even better when I'm fuller, but it's as I'm starting to flatten off, it's starting to happen. But the arms overall is something that I need to fill in here. So there was always a gigantic gap that you could see through the back, and I'm actually starting to see some progress on that. And then as we have the final pose of the classic physique one, there is another one that I like to hit, but at the moment I'm struggling to get in it and it doesn't look right, just because of the extra weight. So I'm just making sure I keep this one in, able to flare the lat out, get the other lat over, pull the vacuum, get the arm up. If I can get that tricep to just look slightly better, this would be a really nice shot on me. But that is how the rig is looking. So if we jump back over to the check-in form, we can have a look and just wrap these things up. So overall for this week, training has been really productive, reset the form quite nicely. Physique is coming together, but we're just having to go through the flat shit bit. Really happy with how training's going, and it's just a case of ticking the boxes. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm hoping to do one of these at least each week. Don't know what day I'm going to set this out yet, but probably Mondays. But it's Monday today, so maybe we'll set it back this week. And if you have any other video ideas that you'd like to see, please let me know down in the comments. As I say, like, subscribe. If you want to check out the training review footage, that'll be over on my Instagram, which I'll put the link for down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you guys next week.